In this video, we're going to get to the animation portion of our character. In the previous videos, we made up the armature, and we have really, I think, everything we need to just create some simple animations. Now, the two types of animations I'm going to be showing you guys, the first one is going to be a short clip. That'll be just their idle animation, just that could repeat over and over. And then the other one will be a slightly larger clip that's going to be a breathing fire animation. So what I want to do here is I just want to go to my animation tab. Animation tab is going to consist of three windows here. One is a viewer. Actually, both these are windows which you can see the model. And the other one will be our dope sheet. So what I want to do is I just want to start off by animating a few joints, and then we'll continue to build upon it. So what you can do is you can select on any one of these joints, and you can give it instructions on where that joint should be positioned, or rotation value should be at any given time during the animation loop. Now we're just going to start off by doing a 250 frame animation. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure my first and my last frame are identical. So let's go ahead and just select the neck, and this be the neck 1 joint. And if I were to hit the I key, or also you can, it might be different depending on what kind of keyframes you have, but I'm going to insert a keyframe, and you can go into either location, rotation, or scale. In this case, we only really need rotation. But I'm just going to go ahead and just, because we don't plan on scaling it or moving it anymore, I'm just going to go ahead and say the rotation. And then let's go to the very last keyframe, so that'd be 250. I'm just going to copy and paste that over there. So now from the beginning to end, this neck will both be the same position. Now the nice thing about that is it lets you loop it. So meaning, let's say if someone were to be running, right? And instead of making them run 1,000 frames long, you can make them run for a bunch of 100 frame segments and just loop and repeat that 10 times. So it's working smarter, not harder kind of a deal. But the catch is you need to make sure that the first and last frame are identical. So what I'm gonna do here is this is an idle animation, so it's just kind of the character's kind of looking around. The character won't be doing anything too special. Just little body movements to look kind of natural. So let's go ahead. I'm just gonna go to frame. Let's say frame. For now, we'll go frame 10. I'm just gonna paste this here. And let's go frame 40. And what I can do is if I were to go to this automatic keying down here, anytime that I remove this, it's going to automatically put some keys for me. So I think that's fine. I want to rotate this on the Z-axis, something like that. And then I'm going to go frame 80. Maybe I'll rotate the other direction, but you want to do it pretty small cell movements. Maybe I want it to look down a little bit. So you can see it starts off looking forward, then it looks over here, looks down a little bit. Maybe the head will raise just a bit. I can raise the head up. And then let's go ahead and just rotate it a little bit more. Something like maybe like that. Kind of a curious look. So I don't know. Something like that might be good. And then, in fact, let's go ahead and move this over here a little bit. And really, I'm just kind of winging it. There's no right or wrong answer to what you do here. I guess the only wrong answer would be if it looks wrong. But really, though, so I'm just going to go ahead and play back. Really, as long as it's a nothing too drastic, I think you should be just fine. Like these might even be too big movements, in my opinion. Let me go ahead and hide the bones. So I don't know. You can also see over here. Might be a little bit too much. Yeah, I think it's a little too too much going on. And also, I don't like how it just stops for a while right here. So I'm going to remove that. Let's try this again. Yeah, and I don't know. I'd say you could tweak it, but I'm not going to spend too much time messing with it in this case. But I do think that that's something that you really can dig in deep and kind of finesse it as you want. Now, next joint we're working on is the tail joint. So I'm just going to select the base of the tail, and again, I'm going to go to the very beginning. I'm going to set that keyframe, just rotation in this case. I go to the last one. I'm also going to copy and paste it over to the 250th frame. And here I could do this a number of different ways. I think in this case, so I want it to be a fairly rhythmic rotating, swaying the tail. So what I might do instead is, I know I want it to be right in the middle. I want to have this tail going right. So let's say at 125, I'm going to paste that there. And let's just say at frame 60, we'll just try this out. At frame 60, I want the tail to be over here. Maybe about a 20-degree rotation. And then at frame 190, I want to be the other direction. Oh, let's see. About 20 degrees. So let's go ahead and see how this looks. It's just be a large methodical swaying of the tail. Is kind of my thought of it. Nothing too crazy. So one thing that I have noticed here is that it is kind of pausing right at this frame. It pauses for a second and then continues. And so that's the easy in, easing out, which we can adjust that if we go into our graph editor. So I'm just going to go to graph editor here. Oops. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to just lock the neck because I'm pretty happy with how the neck looks. I'm actually going to hide the neck as well. I'm just going to grab these last two sections and make those linear. Let's see if I get better results there. Okay, there you go. So, I instead of just grabbing the very last one like I did, I grabbed the last two and made those linear, and I kept everything else, all the Bezier curve, and it seemed to give me pretty good results. Okay. Now that tangent is over, let's go ahead and let's start to just move the wings a little bit. So I'm going to go back into my dope sheet, and I'm going to select my wing, and then I'm going to put the rotation on the first one, and I just want to copy that rotation to the last. And then from here, I'm just going to have these wings kind of move in, just similar to the tail. I think I want to have it move a little bit more than the tail. So maybe instead of doing, oh, I don't know, let's see. So maybe like every 35 frames I have it move just a little bit. So I can do like maybe 35. I rotate it on the Z, just bring it in a little bit. And then I put it back here at 70. And just kind of repeat this process between. So I'm just copying this, and then every 35 frames or so, I will paste this. So we're at 40. So 35 from there will be about 75-ish. The only issue is I kind of run out of frames to see. So I might need to kind of tweak it a little bit here, so it looks a little more natural. So maybe something like this might be fine. So in hindsight, possibly 30 will be a better option. But let's go ahead and just look at this wing. So it's just kind of moving a little bit, almost like I have the character flexing the wing. Maybe it's even moving a little too much. I'm thinking that perhaps I have it moving a little too much. Let's go ahead and I'm going to do this a bit. And we remove some of those. First we'll move this actually at 30 frames. That's close enough. And I'm going to just have this a little bit more subtle. So see how it's just a little more subtle there. And then every 30 frames I'm going to put a marker. So something like this. So we're at 120. So 150, I'll put another marker. 180. So that means at 210, I'll put the last one. That should be pretty good. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So this wing's a little bit more subtle. It's not as kind of drastic as the last one. And you can also come in here and you can kind of go to each one of these and make them just move a little bit differently. So it looks a little bit more randomized, more or less. And keep in mind, if you have the auto key on, like how I do, you shouldn't have to worry about too much about, after you make your initial one, you shouldn't really have to worry a lot about the applying the keyframe. So I just went through here and I just kind of tweaked all these. And let's see. It looks pretty decent. The wing's just twitching. Nothing really that you would think of. If you were like looking at this, you really wouldn't think much of it. And that's how animations should be. They should be subtle. Should never like demand attention unless it's something that's like a big movement that's supposed to demand attention. But so I'm gonna do the other wing. Start off by just applying the rotation, copying that and pasting it at 250. And then every 30 frames, I will just do a little subtle movement. So let's go ahead and, oops. I don't know what I just did there, but that's a new shortcut I never used before. So I'm going to copy this and just paste every 30 frames. Okay. Then I'm going to take this one here, copy that, and paste it right about there. And now what I want to do from here is come back through one last time and just do small fidgets to it to make it look a little more natural. Now a little trick here is if you're rotating it and it's like really fast rotation, if you're to hold the shift key, you can do a micro. It basically slows everything down, which is really nice. Okay, let's go and move that back just a hair. And I'm just really kind of winging it, seeing what feels right, what looks right. So I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna concentrate on my side screen as. Yeah, it's not too bad. I do think maybe I could kind of link them up a little bit better. But that kind of comes with, I think that one comes with a little bit more with the, with timing, as far as taking the time to really dig through there. Now, last piece I'm going to do is I'm going to do the arms. So this one won't be very special. There you go. And I'm just going to have these arms kind of more or less kind of just bounce around Like I said, nothing too crazy. Maybe they move up. Maybe they move out. Yeah, I think that's about right. Very solid movements. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Apply rotation. Apply that to both, and then copy that. So now I have at frame 0, 120, and 250. I have the rotation, so it's all the same. And then right around somewhere between 0 and 120, I just want to give it a little bit of a tweak. And then somewhere between 120 and 250, I also want to give that a little bit of a tweak. So now let's go ahead and play back and look at our left screen, see how it looks as far as these little gentle movements. They aren't anything too crazy, just very small movements. And that should be just enough for what we are calling our idle animation. So if I wanted to, I could, make the character fly. Maybe I want to like do a little takeoff. That takes a little more time. I could make the character stomp around. But I'm not really going to get into that right now. I don't know. I think it takes a little more time than what we have time for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video here. Just keep it a nice bite-sized chunk, for our idle animation. In the next video, we will go over the fire breathing animation. And then after that, we'll be moving on to exporting this out of Blender and importing it into Unity.